Criminals target Barron Trump, unaware his dog is a legendary retired police 9. What happens when criminals target someone they think is an easy victim, only to realize their biggest mistake is underestimating the dog beside him? It was a crisp evening in the heart of Lincoln Park. Barron Trump, now 18, had been enjoying a rare moment of peace, away from the noise of a high-profile life. His German shepherd, Justice, walked faithfully at his side, the rhythmic sound of paws on the pavement blending with the distant rustle of leaves. Justice's sleek coat gleamed under the soft glow of streetlights, and its alert posture gave an air of quiet authority. To Barron, this was just a tranquil evening stroll, a chance to disconnect and enjoy a simple moment with his loyal companion. But for Justice, it was never just a walk. Behind his calm demeanor lay the instincts of a warrior, a retired police canine with a storied history. This wasn't an ordinary dog. Justice had served on the front lines of dangerous missions, dismantling criminal networks and saving countless lives. Though officially retired, the fire of his training and purpose burned as strongly as ever, his sharp eyes constantly scanning the surroundings. Unbeknownst to Barron, trouble was lurking nearby. A group of criminals had been watching him from the shadows, mistaking the young man and his dog for easy prey. Little did they know, their arrogance would soon lead them into a confrontation they couldn't imagine and wouldn't forget. This is a story of bravery, loyalty, and the extraordinary bond between a young man and his silent guardian. As the night unfolds, a dangerous encounter will test their courage and leave everyone involved forever changed. Stay with us as we uncover this thrilling tale of justice, both the dog and the virtue. As Barron Trump walked deeper into Lincoln Park, the peaceful night began to shift. The glow of the streetlights flickered faintly, casting long shadows across the path. At his side, Justice, his loyal German shepherd, moved with calm precision. But Barron didn't notice the subtle change in his dog's behavior. Just as his steps slowed, his sharp eyes locked on a distant shadow, his ears twitched, and a low growl rumbled from his chest, a warning only he could sense. "What's wrong, boy?" Barron asked, his voice steady but uncertain. The serene evening had taken on an edge. Unseen danger lingered ahead, and while Barron couldn't see it, Justice was ready for whatever was coming. The stillness of the night was broken by a subtle, unshakable feeling. Barron Trump stopped mid-stride, glancing over his shoulder. The cool breeze now felt colder, and the once soothing rustle of leaves seemed to whisper warnings. Something wasn't right. Justice, his German shepherd, stood frozen at his side. His posture was rigid, his ears perked, and his eyes locked ahead. A low, guttural growl escaped his throat, sending a chill down Barron's spine. Following his dog's gaze, Barron squinted into the shadows ahead. Under a flickering streetlight, 3 figures began to emerge, their movements slow and deliberate. The faint hum of the park lamps suddenly felt deafening. The serene atmosphere was gone, replaced by an oppressive tension that hung in the air. The figures didn't speak, didn't move closer, yet their presence radiated malice. Barron's heart began to pound. He tightened his grip on Justice's leash, his instincts telling him to back away, but his feet refused to move. Beside him, Justice took a small step forward, his growl deepening. This wasn't just unease. This was danger. The park, which moments ago had felt like a safe haven, now seemed like a trap. Barron realized they weren't alone, and whatever was about to happen, Justice already knew. They were being watched. Out of the shadows, the 3 figures stepped forward, their faces partially obscured by the dim light. Their strides were slow and deliberate, radiating menace with every step. Barron Trump stood still, his grip tightening on Justice's leash as a chill ran down his spine. "Well, look who we have here," one of them sneered, his voice dripping with mockery. "The kid with the fancy dog. Hand over your phone and wallet, and no one gets hurt." The man at the front flicked his wrist, revealing a dagger that gleamed under the faint light. Another swung a metal rod casually in his hand, the sound of steel hitting his palm echoing like a taunt in the stillness. Justice's growl cut through the tension, low and deliberate. He stepped forward, placing himself squarely between Barron and the advancing men. His piercing eyes locked onto them, unyielding and fierce, a silent warning that needed no translation. "Oh, look, the dog thinks he's a hero," another man laughed, his tone mocking but wavering slightly under Justice's unwavering gaze. The lead criminal smirked, pointing his blade. "Maybe we'll teach him a lesson first." Barron's heart pounded, but Justice stood firm, his growl deepening. The men underestimated the dog before them, mistaking him for an ordinary pet. What they didn't realize was that Justice wasn't just standing his ground. He was calculating, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. One of the men lunged forward, his dagger aimed at Barron. The move was sudden and aggressive, but Justice was faster. With lightning speed, the German Shepherd sprang into action, his powerful body a blur. A ferocious bark echoed through the park as Justice leapt at the attacker, knocking him to the ground with a force that left the man breathless. The dagger slipped from his grasp, clattering uselessly onto the pavement. The other two criminals froze in shock for a moment, their confidence faltering as they watched the imposing dog growl fiercely over their fallen accomplice. But hesitation quickly gave way to anger. "Get that mutt!" the leader barked, his voice trembling with frustration and fear. One man raised his metal rod, swinging it toward Justice. The dog's sharp instincts kicked in as he released the first attacker and sidestepped the strike with remarkable agility. The rod whooshed through the air, narrowly missing its target. Justice countered with a calculated move, pivoting and lunging at the second man, forcing him back with a series of powerful growls and precise movements. The remaining criminal tried to corner Justice, wielding a makeshift weapon with trembling hands, but it was no use. Justice wasn't just reacting, he was strategizing. Every step, every leap was deliberate, keeping the men on edge and off balance. Barron stood frozen, his heart racing as he witnessed the scene. Justice was more than just a protector. He was a force of nature, deploying his training with breathtaking precision. The park, now filled with the sounds of growls, shouts, and clashing metal, became the stage for a battle that Justice was determined to win. With one final commanding bark, Justice drove the attackers back. Their confidence shattered, the criminals began to realize they had made a grave mistake. This was no ordinary dog, and Justice wasn't done yet. The chaos in the park reached a fever pitch. Justice stood firm, growling with an intensity that made the criminals hesitate. The air was thick with tension, every second stretching longer than the last. The men glanced at each other, their bravado unraveling as they realized they were no match for the dog standing between them and their target. Then, out of the corner of his eye, Barron saw them. The red and blue lights of a police car flashing against the dark silhouettes of the trees. The sirens blared, cutting through the night like a beacon of hope. Justice didn't flinch. His focus remained on the criminals, his body poised to strike if they dared to make a move. The men froze, their earlier confidence replaced by sheer panic. "Cops!" one of them hissed, his voice cracking as he stumbled backward. The lead criminal raised his hands slightly, his bravado replaced by desperation. "We didn't do anything," he shouted. But his words were empty, betrayed by the sweat glistening on his brow and the discarded weapons at his feet. Justice stepped forward, a single commanding bark halting any thoughts of escape. His powerful stance and sharp, unwavering gaze seemed to say, "Don't even try it." The police car came to a stop, and two officers quickly emerged, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. "What's going on here?" one officer called out, taking in the scene. Barron standing with Justice and the three men, disarmed and clearly shaken. Justice shifted slightly, positioning himself to block any attempt the criminals might make to run. His growl rumbled low, a final warning that held them in place, as if their feet were glued to the ground. Within moments, the officers had the men cuffed and secured, their earlier arrogance now replaced with quiet defeat. One officer approached Barron, his gaze falling on Justice. "Is this your dog?" he asked, his tone filled with curiosity and respect. Barron nodded, still catching his breath. "He's more than that," he replied, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. "Justice saved my life tonight." The officer glanced at the criminals and back at Justice, a small smile forming. "I'd say they messed with the wrong guy. And the wrong dog." As the criminals were led away, Justice finally relaxed, his growls fading into the stillness of the park. Barron knelt beside him, running a hand through his sleek coat. "You did it, Justice," he murmured softly. "You kept us safe." The flashing lights began to fade as calm returned to the park, but for Barron and Justice, this night would leave a lasting mark, a testament to the bond between a young man and his extraordinary protector. As the police officers finished securing the scene, one of them took a closer look at Justice. He paused, his flashlight illuminating the dog's intense, watchful eyes. A look of recognition crossed his face, and he let out a low whistle of amazement. "No way," the officer muttered, turning to his partner. "You know who this is? That's Justice. The Justice. The retired nine who helped take down that cartel in Texas a few years ago. He's a legend." The second officer's eyebrows shot up. "You're kidding," he replied, glancing at Justice with newfound respect. "I read about him. Didn't he track down a fugitive in the middle of the desert? Saved an entire team from walking into an ambush?" "That's him," the first officer confirmed, nodding with admiration. "This dog's done more for justice, no pun intended, than most people will in a lifetime." Hearing this, the criminals' expressions shifted. Their earlier bravado was now completely gone, replaced with wide-eyed fear and regret. One of them stammered, his voice trembling, We didn't know. How were we supposed to know he was some kind of super dog?" The lead criminal, clutching his injured wrist, muttered bitterly, "If we'd known, we'd never have come near them." Barron, standing quietly, listened to the officer's words as he looked down at Justice. His heart swelled with a mix of pride and gratitude. He had always known his German Shepherd was special. But hearing the stories of Justice's past brought everything into sharper focus. Kneeling beside his dog, Barron gently placed a hand on Justice's head. The dog turned to look at him, his amber eyes calm but unwavering, as if to say, "I'm just doing my job." "You're incredible," Barron murmured, his voice filled with emotion. "I don't even have the words. You saved me, just like you've saved so many others." Justice wagged his tail slightly, his stance relaxing now that the danger was gone. To Barron, he wasn't just a protector. Justice was a symbol of loyalty, bravery, and unwavering devotion. For the officers, the criminals, and even Barron himself, it was clear. Justice wasn't just a dog. He was a living legend. By the next morning, the story of Justice's bravery had spread like wildfire. Social media platforms were flooded with posts recounting the incredible events in Lincoln Park. Videos taken by bystanders captured the dramatic confrontation, showing Justice fearlessly taking on the criminals. The hashtags Hero Dog and Justice for Justice began trending as people from all walks of life shared their admiration for the legendary German Shepherd. Comments poured in. "This dog is a true hero. We need more justice in the world, literally and figuratively. Who would dare mess with a retired 9? Incredible story." The tale didn't just inspire awe, it sparked action. An online campaign aptly named Honor Justice was launched to raise awareness about the contributions of retired service dogs. People were encouraged to adopt these loyal companions, giving them the loving homes they deserved after a lifetime of service. Donations poured in, funding resources for retired 9s in shelters across the country. A week later, Barron returned to Lincoln Park with Justice by his side. As they approached the spot where the confrontation had unfolded, Barron noticed something new: a bronze plaque mounted on a pedestal near the path. He knelt to read the inscription. Here, Justice the legendary 9 protected his owner and community with unwavering bravery, loyalty, and courage, a symbol of love and justice for all. Barron smiled, his hand resting on Justice's head. A small crowd had gathered nearby, people of all ages stopping to admire the plaque and snap photos. One little girl approached timidly, clutching a handmade drawing of Justice. It showed the dog standing tall beneath a shining star, with the words, "Hero of Lincoln Park," scrawled in bright, colorful letters. Barron smiled. "Thank you for keeping us safe, Justice," she said softly, handing the drawing to Barron. Justice wagged his tail, his gaze gentle as he dipped his head toward the girl. The gesture drew smiles and even a few tears from the onlookers. Barron felt his chest tighten with emotion. Justice had become more than a protector for him. He was a symbol of courage for an entire community. That evening, as the sun set over the park, Barron and Justice took their usual stroll. But now, they weren't just a young man and his dog. They were part of a story that had touched hearts far beyond the quiet paths of Lincoln Park. A story of loyalty, bravery, and the unbreakable bond between a hero and those he protects. In the quiet days after the incident, Barron often found himself watching Justice with a newfound sense of admiration. Justice wasn't just his protector that night. He was a profound example of loyalty in its purest form. Dogs like Justice don't ask for recognition or rewards. Their love and dedication come naturally, driven by an unbreakable bond with their humans. Barron thought about how Justice had risked everything without hesitation, standing firm against danger to protect him. That unwavering loyalty was something rare, something Barron realized humans could learn from. Dogs don't calculate risks or weigh their options. They simply act out of love and duty, putting their trust and lives on the line for those they hold dear. Justice's actions reminded Barron of the quiet, selfless ways dogs enrich lives. They don't just provide companionship, they teach us the value of standing by those we care about through calm and chaos alike. Justice had shown that loyalty isn't just a word. It's a way of living, a commitment that doesn't falter in the face of adversity. The community felt it too. The plaque in Lincoln Park became a symbol of Justice's heroism, but for many, it also represented the incredible devotion dogs show every day, often without us even noticing. Justice's story was a reminder to cherish these loyal companions who give us so much more than we could ever give them in return. Barron sat beside Justice one evening, resting a hand on his head. "You're more than a hero," he murmured. "You remind us all what it means to be loyal, to never back down when it matters most." Justice wagged his tail, his gaze calm yet watchful. In his quiet way, he had taught Barron and everyone around him that true loyalty is a rare gift, one that we should honor not just in dogs, but in ourselves as well. While this story of Justice and Barron is fictional, the values it embodies are very real. It reminds us of the extraordinary loyalty and bravery our animal companions display and the deep bond that connects humans and dogs. These traits, loyalty, courage, and unconditional love, aren't just qualities we admire in stories. They're the lessons dogs teach us every single day. Dogs like Justice are more than pets. They're protectors, partners, and family. Their sacrifices and devotion deserve recognition, especially those who have served as 9 officers or service animals. Many retired service dogs still have so much love and life to give, waiting for someone to welcome them into a forever home. Supporting these incredible animals is one way we can honor their legacy. If this story touched your heart, consider adopting or supporting organizations that care for retired service dogs and rescue animals. And don't forget to cherish the furry friends already in your life. They give us more than we could ever repay. If Justice's story inspired you, share it with someone who loves dogs and appreciates courage. Let's spread the message of hope and loyalty. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment to share your thoughts. Your engagement helps us bring more stories like this to life. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Together, let's honor the silent heroes who make our world a better place, sometimes with just a wag of their tail and a heart full of love. See you in the next story.